is the Tao? The master, Nachuan, replied, your ordinary consciousness is the Tao. How can one return into accord with it? By intending to accord, you immediately deviate. But without intention, how can one know the Tao? The Tao, said the master, belongs neither to knowing nor to not knowing. Knowing is false understanding. Not knowing is blind ignorance. If you really understand the Tao beyond a doubt, it's like the empty sky. Why drag in right and wrong? Alan Watts goes on to say, in other words, people try to force issues only when not realizing that it can't be done, that there's no way of deviating from the water course of nature. You may imagine that you are outside or separate from the Tao, and thus able to follow it or not follow. But this very imagination is itself within the stream, for there is no other way than the way of blessed assurance. According to the Tao, I never have and never can stray from the way, because the way is all there is. All there is what happens of itself. In the universalist side of Unitarian Universalism, our forebears declared that salvation was available to everyone and that no one would perish in the lake of fire. They declared that people of any faith tradition had the right to the tree of life, and not just Christians. We see that in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, we have our own slant on the open way. But what happens when we bring ideas of right and wrong into our ordinary consciousness? One of the things that we get is the power of positive thinking, a line of thought in which God or the universe seems to be some kind of cosmic busboy or personal assistant responsible for making us happy. Barbara Ehrenreich, the activist academic author, who also lives in Alexandria, I understand, she's the author of Right-Sided, How the Relentless Promotion of Positive Thinking Has Undermined America. She talks about her bout with breast cancer starting in 2001. She described how difficult it was to live with such a life-altering disease and with the requirement of mandatory optimism that seemed to pervade the network of people with cancer and their care providers. Ehrenreich sees two dangers with the requirement to think positively at all times. First, it's delusional and can lead to disastrous consequences. She points to the financial meltdown of 2008 that continues to affect us. Ehrenreich reminds us that 5 years ago, it was very difficult to find financial analysts who were willing to say that we were living inside of an economic bubble because no one wanted to hear that the good times were going to end. Ehrenreich's other indictment of positive thinking is that it is cruel to the victimized and the exploited. How oppressive is it to expect people living with cancer to always put on a smiley face? And if you don't have money or if you lose your job, it's not because you're living in an unjust economic system where there's corporate malfeasance going on. No, it's because you're resisting wealth. If you would just stop your negative thinking, God will bless you. Can you see how positive thinking can be delusional and cruel? Negative thinking is not the antidote and can be just as delusional as mandatory positive thinking. Ehrenreich offers a radical proposition as an alternative to positive thinking, and that is realism. You see what's going on in the world, and you try to do something about it. For the movements that have made a difference, people shifted from thinking private positive thoughts to gathering together and taking action. She refers to the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and Benjamin Rush, who was a Universalist and an abolitionist, was also one of the signers of that declaration. There was no reason for them to believe that they could defeat Great Britain in a war. They must have said to themselves, yeah, the chances will win are slim, and it's going to be really tough. But we're either going to have our freedom or die trying. With determination, courage, and hard work, they founded a nation. All along the way, those founders encountered ways that closed, battles lost, plans thwarted, its supplies depleted, and yet they kept pushing onward. Rather than being stopped, they won other battles, made different plans, launched their own surprise attacks, and restored supplies. As the elder in Harper Palmer's account said, closing doors have the same guiding effect on our way as the doors that actually open. See how the way lies open. Over my years as an interim minister, I could identify many occasions when I was looking for an open way, but I didn't see one, mostly because the open way was not in the direction that I was looking. So let me pull some examples of what I once called my dossier of failures, so that you might be encouraged to look at your failures differently. I went to California during my sabbatical back in 2008 and interviewed for an interim position. I wanted to live in California again. The interview went well. The search committee, though, didn't think I was quite the right match. Meanwhile, I had applied to be the interim minister at Central Unitarian Church in northern New Jersey and was eventually hired. Because I was back in the New York metropolitan area, I was able to apply to be a lyricist in the BMI Layton Engel musical theater workshop in Midtown Manhattan, and I was accepted. That was a dream come true. Beyond that, one of my family members living in New Jersey faced a major health crisis within weeks after I moved. And there was nowhere else in the world I wanted to be other than at his side in his time of need. And I couldn't have done that if the way that it opened had been in California. Last winter, in the middle of my second year in the musical theater workshop, it got clear that I wasn't going to meet the requirements for admission into the advanced third year workshop. Then a plum opportunity for ministry opened up. Oh, that's why I didn't make the cut in the workshop. So that I could focus on applying to be minister at ABC Church. And all of the people that I told about this opportunity that presented itself said to me, "Oh, you'd be great there. You should be doing that." And I responded, "Yeah, I should, shouldn't I?" I spent weeks fine-tuning my packet and I submitted it. I knew the search committee was going to contact their top candidates a day or two after the due date. Around that time, a voice whispered, "Your name's." A couple of days later, the voice got a little louder. "Your name's not on the list." By the time I got the Dear Reverend Smith email from the search committee chair